Hi class, today we're looking at Chapter 5, Lesson 1, Solving Systems by Graphing. So, graphing systems of equations can help you compare different rental options. A system of equations is a set of two or more equations that have the same variable. Let's write that down. Okay, so a system of equations, a set of two or more equations that have the same variable. The solution of a system is any ordered pair that satisfies all equations in their system. Let's write that down. So a solution of a system, any ordered pair that satisfies all equations in the system. One method of solving a system of linear equations is to graph each equation and find any intersecting points. So let's take a look at this one. So solving a system by graphing. Solve the system by graphing. So here are our two equations. Y equals 2x minus 1. Y equals negative x plus 5. So this first one, if we know that this is the y-intercept, it crosses at negative 1, so that's where our point should be, right here at negative 1. And then we know that the slope is this 2, so rise over run, up 2 over 1. So up 2, 1, 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. That's how they got this arrow right here. And then the second one crosses the y-intercept at 5. And then this one, the slope is negative. So that's like negative 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Well, right there you can see where it crosses. So that's how they got this line. And so then the key is to see right here where they cross each other. So that is x is 2 and y is 3. So therefore, the lines appear to intersect at 2, 3. And then we can check that. So if we put 2 in for x, does it equal 3? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 does equal 3. Woohoo, we're good. Now let's try the other one. If we put negative 2 plus 5, does that equal 3? Sure does, so we are correct. So why don't you try to solve the system of equations of the graph for this next one, y equals 2x minus 4 and y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Remember, you're looking for the x and the y coordinates where the lines cross. Press pause, try it out, come back to me when you're done. Okay, so when I graphed these, I started with the top one. I did the negative 4, slope up 2 over 1, went up 2 over 1, that's where I got that point. So I went ahead and made that line. Then I went to the second one. The y-intercept is 1, so that's where I got that. The slope was negative 1 over 2, so down 1 over 2. Instantly I saw that this is where both lines cross. So I did go ahead and finish that line, but I wouldn't have had to. And when I did that, I could tell that x equals 2 and y equals 0. That was the crossing point. So that is my answer. Okay, so solving a system by graphing. So solve the system by graphing. So we have these two equations, x minus y equals 2, and then 2x plus y equals 1. Well, now we don't have it in y-intercept form, so we don't know what the y-intercept is or what the x is. We could solve for y and get it in y-intercept form, and that would be completely acceptable. But another way we could do it is we can make a table for each equation. So what happened here is for this first equation, we just took numbers, -1, 0, and 1, and plug them in for x. So -1 minus y equals 2. So to get rid of the 2, let me write it down here just so that you can kind of see. So we just plug in whatever number you want, plug in. So we plugged in -1 minus y equals 2. We want to get rid of this, so plus, what was that? Plus 1 to both sides. Negative y equals 3. We want to get rid of that negative. So if we divide by a negative, then we have y equals -3. And that's where we got this number. Okay? So for each of these, all we did was took a random number, -1, 0, 1, plugged it into the equation, and solved for y. Same for this one. We took x, just decided on some random numbers, plugged it in, solved so that we got the y coordinates, so we then could graph it. So if -1, -3, so this first one, we go down 1, over -1, down 3. So this is our first coordinate there. 0, -2, and then 1, -1. Over 1, down 1. Okay, so that's how we got that first line. -1, 3. So that's back 1, up 3. 0, 1. We have x equals 1 and -1. Oops, and there's our 2 points. Both of them touched right there. So notice that 1 and -1 are ordered pairs in both tables. Graph both equations in the same coordinate. The lines intersect at those points. So the solution of the system is 1, -1. Go ahead and see if you can create a table for these two equations and then graph it. Come back to me when you're done. Okay, so I went ahead and just used the numbers 1, 0, -1, plugged it into the equation and solved for y to get -4, -5, -6. That's how I was able to track this line here. Same for this one. I used 1, 0, -1. Plugged it into the equation, solved for y, got 2, 4, and 6. When I created the two lines, I saw that it crossed right here. It's where we have the 2 points, and therefore it was over 1, 2, 3, and then down 1, 2. So that is how I got 3, -2. Okay, moving on. So you need to rent a video camera. Video Barn charges $30 rental fee plus $35 per day. Allied Rental charges $45 rental fee plus $30 per day. Which company should you choose? Justify your answer. So the first step that we want to look at is we want to write two equations. So the constant for the first one is 30 plus 35 times however many days. So therefore the slope is 35, the y-intercept is 30. And the second one, y equals 45 plus 30x. The slope is 30, the y-intercept is 45. So when they graph both equations, the line appears to intersect at 335, 3 and 135. So if you look at this graph, for a rental up to 3 days, Video Barn is less expensive. But then after that, it gets more expensive. So at that point though, both companies charge $135. The rental longer than 3 days, Allied rental, is less expensive. So this is where it's really quite cool to be able to compare, because there's a break-even point, the 135, and then after that, depending on how long you want this and you want to get the better deal, you need to keep that in mind. So why don't you try this one on your own? To rent scooters from Sam's, he charges a $30 fee plus $8 per hour. Rosie charges $20 fee plus $10 per hour. Which company should the Morris family choose? Go ahead, press pause, see what you come up with. Come back to me when you're done. Okay, so when you graphed these two, you should be able to see. So Sam's is this first equation, Rosie is the second equation. And so really, Rosie's is a better deal up until the point where they cross, and that's going to be at 5 hours. It costs $70. And at that point, if you want to go more than 5 hours, you should choose Sam, because Sam's turns into the better deal. So choose Rosie's for less than 5 hours and choose Sam for more than 5 hours. Okay, so your homework today is page 150, number 1 through 17 odd. Happy homeworking!